Good Erev Shabbos. How's everybody doing? Sorry, I was away in America, seeing in Miami, skiing in Colorado, visiting my son in Los Angeles, back to Chicago. Slightly difficult to give the Divrei Torah on the Parshas, but here I am back in Eretz Yisrael. I'll give you two varts, one to make up for last week. This week we were learning about Aver Lishma, the daf in Nazir on Wednesday. Aver Lishma, what does that mean? Under certain circumstances, a person could do an Avera, a complete Avera, but have the right intention, Mechaven L'Shem Shamayim, zero self-benefit, no hana, and it's a good thing. What about the same thing, doing an Avera, but bin Adam L'Chaveroi, causing your friend a lot of grief, but you have the right intent. You want that person to be a better person, you want him this, you want him that, you have a different cheshbon. Is that okay? So this week's Parsha, when the Torah discusses Kol Almana v'Yasam Leisanun, you can't pain an Almana and a Yasam, a widow and an orphan. And then the pasuk goes on to say, Im anesana oisoi, and if you cause him pain, Ki im tzoik yitzek Eli, and if he'll scream to me. Oh, what's the word ki? It should just say, Im tzoik yitzek Eli, if he screams to me, I will hear him and I will punish that person. What's ki? Says the Vilna Gaon a beautiful thing. He says that the Gemara talks about the Satan and Penina, both of them had Kavana L'Shem Shomai. The Satan by Eiv. In fact, the Medrash goes on to say that the Satan walked into the Beis Medrash, found Reb Levi who darshan this, and kissed Reb Levi on the feet in front of everybody. He was so excited that Reb Levi understood him. He understood that the Satan was Mechaven L'Shem Shomai. But what about Penina? Let's talk about Penina. Penina's sister Chana didn't have any children. And Penina realized that Chana needs to cry from her heart, and she decided to egg her on, shepherd her, bother her, and cause her pain, and therefore she would go and cry, and her plan worked, and she had children. But we know Penina was punished very severely. And the question is why she had Kavana L'Shem Shemai. For every child that Chana had, Penina lost 2 children. Is that fair? And the word is, because when it comes to Ben Adam L'Chaveroi, how much we have to be careful. Every word we say, there is no L'Shem Shamayim. You can't say I meant for her good and I bothered her so she should daven. That doesn't work. That might work between you and Hashem, doing an Aver L'Shma, but not Ben Adam L'Chaveroi. Says the Vilna Gaon, Ki im tzoik yitzek Elai. Ki means, in this case, even if you had kavana that that person should scream to me, not that the person screamed, you wanted that person to scream. It's still not a good cheshbon. I'll hear that screaming and I'll punish you, Rahman al-Islam. You know, in Shir, I'm very into the pictures, and now we have Yoshi the artist and hands-on. So I thought this is very befitting. The pasuk says, Ki sikna eved ivri. If a person buys a Jewish slave, Sheishanim Yahweh, he works for you for 6 years. The Gemara tells us that that halacha was said as Klal Yisrael was going out of Mitzrayim. So the question is, why? Why couldn't that halacha wait with all the halachas? It was actually repeated again at Matan Torah. So now, keep it with all the halachas, with Shabbat, with everything else, not Shabbat, but all the other halachas. Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, because it's the most befitting time when Klal Yisrael were slaves, and they knew what it means to be a slave, and they're leaving, they finally had their freedom. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know, one day if you have a Jewish slave, remember what it felt like to be a slave. Feel it. And maybe you'll let him out a little earlier. You'll treat him properly. There's the famous story about Nero, Caesar. He was running away from his enemies, and he decided to hide in one of his slaves' homes. So he knocks on the door, says, "Can I hide here?" The slave says, "Sure, come in." And he hid under the bed. And sure enough, a few minutes later, knock on the door. Soldiers come in searching for the Caesar. Searching here, there, they look up, down, they can't find him. They come into the bedroom, they're by the bed, they start moving. And luckily, they didn't see him and they leave. Later on, when the Caesar went back into power, he calls the slave and he says, "Listen, you saved my life. I want to give you anything you want." So the slave says, "You know, Caesar, I don't want anything. I want one thing. I want to know how you felt when they were moving the bed around and they were about to find you. What did you feel like?" The Caesar says, "What? Chutzpah. That's how you talk to me? That's what you want? I thought you want some gold. You want some? That's what you want? Put him to death. Put him to death." 3 days later, they take him out. They put the noose on his neck and they start tightening it. And as this guy's about to take his last breath, the Caesar bends down and whispers in his ear, "That's how I felt. Okay, take it off." They release him, and the Caesar tells the slave, "I told you could ask me for anything, and you asked me how I felt. I wanted to show you how I felt. There's no better way to show you how I felt than to show you how I felt. I can't just explain it in words. So I needed to bring you to your last breath, and when you realize you're about to die, that's how I felt. And now you're a free man." I was thinking that when we teach our children Torah, you could explain it to them, and then you could explain it to them. You could show them a nice picture, a nice diagram. Bring it to life, because Torah that you bring to life penetrates the neshama on a whole different level. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful Shabbos.